All right, so this is going to be just a walkthrough of how to inactivate customers automatically based on a date time range. Not so much a walkthrough as I'm just going to do it live right now, and it's probably going to be a little messy, and that's all right. You'll get to see the process as it happens. So here's the Contacts app on the dashboard. I'm going to go to Manage and go to Routines because I want to make a routine for this. We're going to call this Auto-Inactivate Customers. So what we want is for customers to be inactivated after 5 years of no transactions for this customer. You can probably do this multiple ways. This is just one way of doing it. So what we're first going to do is create a debug output. And that's because you want this for all routines, because routines can be hard to debug if you don't have a way to output things. And if you publish it, you can't change your outputs. So do it right at the beginning. So first thing is we're going to get to our look back date. So I want to say we're going to add years, use the current date, and in this case we're going to look back 5 years. You could make this a variable. On this particular screen, I'm just going to hard code it right in because of the use case needed. And then we're going to loop our customers. And we want to exclude some things. So we don't want leads. So only real customers, because this is mostly affecting QuickBooks. We want to make sure their QuickBooks file is nice and tidy. We also don't care about jobs. That's a different thing for this customer. So we're going to say sublevel is less than 1. And let's start with that. Gotta label everything, of course. I'm going to start with a sanity check here. So I'm going to use my debug variable just as a check to see how many we're going to even be looping here. So now that I've got this as my output, I can just test this routine. Okay, so we got 748. So now we need to see if there are anything else we need to filter on. I don't believe so. So then the next thing we need to do is to look up the last activity, the last transaction for that customer. So this is going to be a little computationally expensive, but it's going to happen like, I don't know, once a week or something. So it's not that big of a deal. So we're going to say where the entity is equal to the name on the loop. So look for transactions that match the name of the the customer we're looping through, which is a unique field. So it's fine to do that. So I'm going to call this latest transaction and get the last one. So we just want whatever the most recent transaction is for this entity. Okay. We can then do a conditional to see if it is older or newer than that. This is probably going to take a lot of looping time because it's got to find it for like 700 individual entities. So this might not be a better way to do this, but honestly, this should be probably fine. So we're going to say if latest, and sometimes when you're doing this, you might want to type the note first, especially with conditionals if you're not quite sure what you're doing. So if latest transaction date is older than look back date, and that lets you say, here's the English, and now I can create the conditional statement. So we'll start with latest transaction. Older would mean less than. So the date is smaller, less seconds since the beginning of time than the look back date. So if that's all true, then do something. I don't care about the do something right now. I want to see how many we're going to be inactivating here. So I'm just going to move my guy down here. I could probably delete it. So move that guy down here, and it'll just tell me how many times we've looped through this to see if I was to run this right now and inactivate all these accounts, how many would it be inactivating? Because I don't want to just wholesale deactivate things without testing it and knowing exactly what's going on. So we'll let this run for a second. So we got 123. That means if we ran this right now, that'd be a lot to deactivate. That actually might be pretty accurate. So we can probably check this out by saying, all right, now give me the first couple that you want to see. So I'm going to say, loop through this, and we're going to say name starts with, contains, I don't know, X, just to pare down the amount of things we're going to be looking at here so that this runs faster while we're debugging it and testing it out. So what I want to see is actually a couple names of the ones that's going to deactivate, so I can just audit it to make sure, like, yeah, this is good. We like this routine. So I'm going to call this result name list. And then if it's going to deactivate it, we're going to name list with name. And we're going to comma separate them. And then we're going to pop it back into the name list. So this is just a testing character function. So if it's older than that, do that. So hopefully not a lot of customers have the letter X in it, and we don't have to do this whole routine. We're going to make sure we get name list right there and give it a run. Okay, great. So found some things. I'm going to check it out and see if this particular contact deserves to die. It's an invoice back in 2019. So that was more than 5 years ago. And some payments also more than 5 years ago. So yes, this would be an old enough one that I could just be gotten rid of. So I do see in here one other problem customer. So I need to add a filter for that, which I will do when I go back into it. So we're going to go through this particular account. It's going to be, we're going to ignore test customers. So in this account, we've got some test customers that need to stick around no matter what, and they don't have transactions. All right. So I like what this is doing, so we're going to kind of get rid of this. I don't really care about this anymore, which means that this output needs to be changed. And we can get rid of that. All right, so now it's just as simple as update this customer to be is active, of course, false. Okay, so we want to inactivate the customer. I don't care so much about this, but what we will do actually here is we're gonna, since this is gonna run automatically, and if there's something ever that goes wrong, I wanna kind of see what got inactivated. So I'm changing my mind here, what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna have result customers looped, because I want this to show in the report on the automated routines that run, so I can see, hey, what was deactivated? Okay. Customer, we're going to call that count. And then we're going to say result customers inactivated list. Okay, so we are going to kind of do some things here. So we're going to use this as a template and say anything that was looped, we're going to just do here. Okay, so that'll get us our customers looped, and then we're going to do the exact same thing for inactivated. Inactivated count. Get rid of our old debug. Oh, So this is a mistake I made. I didn't really pay attention to it. So this is exactly not what we wanted. I meant to put this in the screen beforehand. So where record ID is equal to record ID that we looped through. So that's what happens when you move too fast and record things while you're thinking about things. All right, so now we want to update it to active no. Sometimes you make mistakes, you know? We're gonna then make the list right here. So kind of what I had before and deleted. Again, moving too fast, doing silly stuff. So we're gonna bring that name into our list variable and put a comma between it. Add to customers inactive list. All right. So we're going to find 5 years ago, loop through all our active customers, customers looped, let us know how many there are. So in this case, add one every time. Get latest transaction for the customer. And if it's older than the look back date, we need to tell the output variable that we added one to it, add the name to the list so that we can debug this in the future for like, why was that deactivated? And then inactivate customer. So a couple things you could do to this, like if you wanted to snazz it up, I would probably make this a variable in the contact screen that says like look back period that you can change on the preferences for the user. I would also probably create an activity here for the customer that says automatically inactivated or something like that. You could also add the update, prepare for accounting action that would kind of force sync it to QuickBooks. I don't think that really matters because this is going to be like a slow in the background kind of culling process. So as far as the activity goes, I'm not too worried about that for this customer, but it's certainly a cool idea that you could do. The first time you run this, it's going to take a while. So in that case, it'll take a bit. I'm going to go ahead and publish it. But first, I need to add my outputs here. So customers looped, inactive count, and inactive list. Okay. And then if you had a variable, you know, for fun, we could just do look back date just so we can look at that if needed. And then we're going to publish this draft. All right. Last thing here is we need to schedule this to happen. I'm just going to schedule this for we're going to call it Saturday at 8 a.m. And that can happen. And there you go. Inactive customers automatically. I'll run this after this video closes out, and that's how you do it.